Hi, Arthur.
Hi, Emilio.
How are you?
I'm hanging in there. How are you doing, honey bun?
I'm also hanging in there with my otter and an axe. I love my sweater. Anyways, welcome to another exciting episode of Bite My Shiny Metal podcast. This week, we are joined with our special guest star, Trey. Hi, Trey.
Hello.
Thanks for
Hi, Trey.
joining
Thanks for
us.
joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. I like to start every new guest with this question. Tell us about you and Futurama. What was your first episode? When did you start to watch it? When did you love it? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I started watching, I grew up watching The Simpsons, so I think I don't remember I was actually there for the very first pilot episode, but it was pretty early on, like back when it was on Fox and bouncing around between different time schedules depending on baseball and everything. So that's when I first started watching it, was because of The Simpsons, but I first started falling in love probably when it was doing Adult Swim reruns, and especially the Luck of the Fryish and Jurassic Park episodes where it's oh, now it's actually making me cry, and I don't like that. I don't do that often. So I have to love this show then.
Oh my God, Trey has feelings. You are also the second person to mention Jurassic Park today. So it is definitely, I'm very excited for that episode for us to get there. I'm ready to cry on camera for everyone.
I just got a dog this year, so I don't want to, I haven't rewatched it since then, so I do not want to bawl any more than I already have.
Oh my
I'm not
God.
going to rewatch that for a while.
Arthur, have your emotions strengthened since getting Watson?
It's funny you ask, because sometime in February, I think, and we're recording this in early April, but sometime in February, I think I finally had the time and the wherewithal to sit down and make Watson sit next to me as I watched Jurassic Park. And I almost made it through without completely breaking down and hugging her like a beanie baby until that poor little dog, nope, we're not gonna, no. I took her back to the pound. I stopped watching Futurama. I don't even like the show anymore. I'm quitting. You can do this on your own. I'm leaving.
And we're done talking about Jurassic Park. Trey, do you have a favorite episode?
Probably just Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings. Futurama had four perfect series finales, and then just that one by itself was everything that I could hope.
I was the first one today to say that Devil's Hands Are Idle Playthings is my favorite episode. I could just watch it over and over. It's so good. I can't wait to talk about that episode too. It's going to be so much fun. So today we're going to be talking about season 1, episode 4, Love's Labor's Lost in Space. Starting with some fun facts. The original air date was April 11th, 1999, coming up, and it was written by Brian Kelly. This episode is actually named after the 1598 William Shakespeare play of Where'd Arthur Go?
Is he going to pop up? Is he going to be in Elizabethan garb?
Maybe.
Exciting.
Hang on. This is where all my video editing skills come in handy.
I'll stay in one spot. That way it's easy to edit.
I'm just going to restart my fun facts. I'm going to go over the fun facts, the opening title card, and then go into the plot episode. And then we'll discuss. Yeah. And then wherever you have cute things to interject with or whatever. Hey, you're back.
My apologies. I have onion rings going.
Oh my God. Are they good? Are they out?
They were just turned over, so I will have one more discreet exit to remove them. But
that's fine. We'll pause. I'll take it out and post. It's whatever.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I wasn't sure if I could say anything or not.
You're just giving me 5 extra minutes of work to do on an iMovie. It's fine.
It's okay. You need the practice. I'm helping.
It's true though. She's not star wipe. Star wipe everything. So fun facts for this episode. The original air date was April 11th, 1999. It was written by Brian Kelly. This episode is named after the 1598 William Shakespeare play Love's Labor's Lost. and the 1960s CBS science fiction series Lost in Space. A really good series, which turned into a really good movie that everybody hated, which turned into a really good Netflix series. I love Lost in Space. It's so good.
I have not seen Lost in Space, but I do have the play and read it.
Love
So I'm
Labor's
coming to the
Lost.
opposite side. Yeah.
I can't remember the last. I think I like read it once in high school, and that was it. We did like a stint on Shakespeare. Anyways, he's dead. So this episode was the first time we actually meet Nibbler. His shadow was shown in the pilot episode, Space Pilot 3000, when Fry falls into the cryo chamber. This is also the first episode where we meet Zapp Brannigan and Kif Kroger, Kif Kepler, Kroger, Kif Kroger, along with Nibbler. One of the items, I didn't notice this until I looked up fun facts for this episode. One of the items on Leela's animal checklist for Virgon 6 is a sharktopus. And Sharktopus later became a TV film by the same name in 2010, so released almost 11 years later. So it's kind of like, did they get the idea for Sharktopus from Futurama?
Maybe.
Think about.
Yeah, maybe go on their IMDb page and see if that's a fun fact there.
Ooh, I didn't do that. I should do that. I'm gonna write a little note to do that later. Later on in the episode, Zapp Brannigan updates his captain's journal on April 13th, which was the episode's unofficial air date after April 11th. It came out on the 11th and on the 13th. So it was like, oh, what good timing. Which Futurama is known for doing this because December 31st, 2999 was on a Tuesday. In the episode, it's on a Tuesday. And then if you look at the actual calendar, it's supposed to be on a Tuesday in real life. So it's like, oh, no. They're not dumb. I mean, they all had PhDs or something. So I wouldn't put it past them to write cute things like this.
Yeah. Community did a similar thing one episode with I think it was Lithuanian Independence Day. They had a parade in the episode and it aired on the same day. I don't think that was Lithuanians, but
Community. Oh, such a good show.
Yeah.
The opening subtitle and the title card is presented in BC where available, and in parentheses BC says brain control, which there's a lot of references in Futurama to hypnotizing and controlling other people. I'm starting to realize that as I watch the episode. It's kind of funny. Getting into the plot. This is another episode that starts with a cold open, which we don't have many of them. And I think after the first season, they're all done with. But
yeah, only a first season thing.
Right. It's a new series. They're trying it out. This is only episode 4, so they're still trying to get the hang of things. But
they're also hard to write.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought this cold opening was done pretty well. The episode opens with Leela on a date with a man who seems perfectly normal and super cute for her. And after mentioning that it's nice to go out with somebody who isn't put off by her one eye and to meet someone who's open-minded, he reveals that he has a lizard tongue, which ends up revolting Leela, which kind of counteracts what she said about being open-minded. A lot of things happen in this episode. Trey, in the last episode, Arthur and I were discussing about how the show is really good about doing 1-2 punch jokes, where it's we'll do the one joke and then there's a pause for the audience to have their own reaction to it, and then they have the secondary joke, which makes you rethink what just happened. In this scene, it was they have little pellets on their plate, and Leela's hey, you picked a really great restaurant. They had such generous portions, and you think it's the pill that they're having in front of them is a portion. And then a split second later, Leela's date is now you can enjoy this after dinner dessert mint. And it's oh, it's just a mint.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of comic strips, because that has the same sort of joke setup, third panel joke, fourth deflation, which that grading started with comics. So maybe that's kind of where it's coming from.
Oh,
that
yeah. I mean, Arthur was mentioning it, the series does that really well. They do it a lot.
Yeah, I've just found it funny that she was turned off by the long lizard tongue while I was the opposite.
So I also had the same thought, and I was yes, come on, long tongue. Arthur doesn't agree.
There are a lot of jokes in the first half of this episode that I think, particularly for gay men, are pretty funny and relevant. But it's it's the overly childish reaction to the tongue, where it's not just, oh, it's gross. It's a full on ew.
She's like,
she overreacts pretty strongly.
Yeah.
Actually, my onion ring should be done, so I'm gonna
go for it.
Step out for just a sec.
Onion ring sounds so good. I was having leftover pasta from last night.
Yeah, I haven't had lunch yet. I just was having leftover just plain tortilla chips.
Oh,
I don't even. Yeah, which this brand I'm not going to get again. They do not hold up to salsa, which I should have noticed when it said thin and crispy, which they are indeed thin and crispy, but they don't. It just kept falling apart in the
chips for lunch. This is why you're so skinty.
Yeah.
The white party should be a lot of fun. I went to Palm Springs May of 2020. No.
2021?
When was I in Palm Springs? No, May of 2020. No, 21, sorry. Yes, you were right. May of 21. It was fun.
Because I would think May of 2020, nothing was open.
No. It was May of 21. It was a lot of fun. Hot. We went Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting sun, getting a tan. Do you know what hotel you were in?
We actually stayed in a
Airbnb.
No, it's a hotel off to the side of the airport. So like off the strip, and we had like a rental car, so we would drive everywhere.
Oh, a motel.
Yeah. No. It was like an airport hotel, but it was not like it was one of those like extended stay hotels. So it's like the room had like a full kitchen with like a stove and all that other kind of stuff. So super fun.
Yeah, I'm staying at, I think it's like the host hotel, just because was the easiest. I'm like, this is the first time I'm going, I'll do it. What was also weird is like, to get the VIP tickets above the other ones were just like $75 more. And I was like, okay, I'll be a VIP for this. Why not?
Oh,
I'm already here for the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's your first time. Okay. Back to the plot. Minutes after an unsuccessful, back to the plot. Right after the cold opening, it opens in Planet Express offices, and Leela is talking about her date last night because Fry asked how it went, and everybody gives their suggestions about where they could meet, about where Leela could meet a man.
Fry, the Federal Sex Bureau,
yes.
A saucy puppet show.
God, I forgot to write down who else said what, but they like all give suggestions, and Amy and Leela are both like, no. And Amy doesn't suggest anything. She says, just get ready and we'll go out tonight. So they, minutes after an unsuccessful attempt by Amy to introduce Leela to eligible bachelors at the Hip Joint, a new New York nightclub, the crew gets sent on a tax-deductible charity mission. The uninhabited planet of Virgon 6 has been mined hollow for more than 25 years and is about to collapse. The crew is sent to recover 2 of each kind of animal native to the planet for breeding purposes. So Futurama being Futurama, they're so well at packing a lot of things in between commercials, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on. They pack it so well. They pack it so well that you're like, wow, they really fit a lot of stuff in here. And when you think back on it, there's like a lot going on. Like when they are when they're at the Hip Joint, I love that it looks like something out of the Jetsons, because it's like a hip nightclub on top of like a stilt, a la the Jetsons, which is something I always thought was very indicative of a very futuristic setting. I always laugh at the gag where Fry's like, why is everybody wearing rings? And Amy's like, duh, that's because rings aren't cool. And Fry's like, I think rings are cool. And that guy with the British accent.
Don't let anyone hear you say that. Did that law just say rings are cool? No, he said they're stupid. Cool.
Yeah. I just think it's so dumb, but it's very like club culture. And then
Yeah, you have to be wearing it ironically at that point. If you're not, then you're not being cool.
yeah, if you're doing it to be cool, then you're not cool. The way to be cool is to be uncool. Um, the suitors that Fry, or it's just funny because also I wrote down in my notes that Bender has like he says he has a gaydar and then he pulls out an actual
He proves that he does.
he pulls out an actual gaydar, which is this like giant contraption with like a little radar dish on top of it. And he's using it every time Amy brings over a suitor. And the first one is like some 10-time space luge champion. And so Bender's like, yeah, it looks like he's gone 10 times at like the, what is it?
I think he means 10 wins on the gay circuit. Yes. I wish those cats can really fly.
I would like 10 times on the gay circuit. And then
burnt all your serotonin doing all that Molly.
No, at one point it actually cuts to Fry talking to a girl who says that she's like, oh, you're from the 20th century. That's so cool. I'm from the 21st century. And Fry's like, yeah, we have a lot in common. And then she says, do you remember when cyborgs enslaved humanity in the 21st century? And Fry's just like, yeah. Which cyborg uprising,
who's the bigger idiot.
Yeah,
her or him.
Yeah.
But also like cyborg uprising, yes, we could see that happening, right? I feel like we're halfway there. Alexa and Siri.
Yeah, if we continue putting like AirPods smaller and smaller and then like actually fit them in our ears.
I think we're in real trouble. You know those robotic dogs that they have? I think we're in real trouble. Alexa or Siri into one of those things.
Oh my God, those ones being created by Boston Dynamic.
Yes, those things are terrifying. Anyways, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's terrifying because they're like beating the shit out of them to make them stand upright. And I'm like,
I need to be able to knock them over. I don't want people beating them up.
Yeah.
I need to beat them up.
We need them to be like Bender, where when he falls perfectly on his back, he can't get back up.
Yeah, if I can't push them over easily, then it doesn't matter. Like I grew up pushing cows. So if I can't push a cow over, if I can push a cow over, I should be able to push one of these robots over.
There's also the line in here where the professor is telling them that they have to go to Bergon 6 and like it's like inhabited by animals but no humans. And so Leela's like, wait, what's gonna happen with the animals? And it's just back and forth with the professor going, what? What animals? And then finally he just resigns.
Animals.
Yeah. And then finally he just resigns to, and while you're there, collect 2 of each animal. And it's like, oh, okay, the professor remembered.
I think he initially sets up they need to rescue 2 of every animal, and then Leela keeps trying to get him to go back 2 animals in the discussion. And I think the exchange is something like, I didn't say anything about the animals. Now you'll need to go to Vergon 6 to do this and this and this before it explodes. This will kill all of the animals.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Vergon 6 has been declared restricted due to its undeveloped status under Brannigan's law. The Planet Express crew are arrested by the legendary space captain Zapp Brannigan, who immediately attempts to seduce Leela, finding her extremely attractive. Leela initially rebuffs Brannigan, but eventually succumbs to pity for the desperate fool as he cries in bed, a fact that Brannigan brings up in every later appearance in the series. So I love Zapp Brannigan. I hate him a lot of the times, but I love him because he is, I think he was like modeled to be like half Captain Kirk and half actually William Shatner. So like you could see like both of these personas evident in Zapp, but it's just so funny because it's like the extremes of both people put together. And I just love that it's like the Nimbus and Zapp and his crew are always like big throwbacks to Star Trek, which I think is like one of the reasons I love Zapp and like all of his crew and like every scene he's in. I don't like him. I think he's like pretentious, which is what his character is supposed to be. And I think the creators do a good job of like making you hate this character. But
yeah, he's like
yeah,
the epitome of like failing, succeeding, like white
Failing
male, just like
upwards.
yeah,
failing up.
throwing wave
Yeah.
after wave of men. Just
Yeah. I really wanted him to ask Kif, like, how many men did we lose or something like that? Because he makes that comment, like you said, of like throwing wave after wave of like at that one war to tire them out so that they could just like take the final kill. So
yeah,
a fun, sorry, go on.
which I need to go to war against Zapp and again if that's how he fights.
Yeah, yes.
He's a brilliantly written character, particularly in this episode. It's surprising how confrontational Kif is in this episode versus later episodes, because Kif actually calls him a jackass and kind of stands up to him in a way that he doesn't on down the road. But yeah, Zapp Brannigan is he was originally thought of as what if Bill Shatner were in command of the Enterprise instead of James T. Kirk, which is really funny. And Billy West, stepped in to do the voice because it was supposed to be oh my goodness, Phil Hartman, who was killed in '98 before he had auditioned for the role, and Billy West ended up stepping in and took it in the character was always going to be the same, Bill Shatner in command of the Enterprise, but Billy West took the vocalization in a very different way than I think Hartman was, and made it his own. And he really stands out because Zapp Brannigan's one of the characters known outside of the show to the larger world.
Yeah. They pull a lot. Obviously, they pull a lot from Star Trek. Well, I was doing some research, and some of the things I found in my notes was that Zapp is absolutely modeled after Kirk and Shatner. Brannigan's Law is actually a play on the Prime Directive from Star Trek, because Zapp mentions that Brannigan's Law means you can't interfere with an undeveloped planet, which is, as we know in the Prime Directive, you can't interfere with any civilization that isn't like sufficiently advanced enough, which in their case is having discovered warp drive and able to use it. The uniforms that they have, that the scene where we're introduced to Zapp is him talking about his new uniforms, which are made of velour. And they all have scants, which like the skirt pants from Star Trek. But 2 points. So velour was what the uniforms were made of in the original Star Trek series. They were velour suits, velour uniforms. And scants made very few appearances in The Next Generation, which is where I fell in love with it. And it's gonna be like one of my Halloween costumes at some point this year or next year. I keep meaning to like find a scant, and then I keep ending up doing something else for Halloween. But I really want to wear one.
Why do you need to be for Halloween? You just wear it anytime.
Good call.
It would, especially with summer coming up. Eventually, it'll get hot. So I think the dupe uniforms are a play off of the original series movie uniforms, which were very red and had this kind of button over. And yeah, the skirt function is a holdover from The Next Generation. And I like, as I think about it, the Nimbus is also like this chopped up version of the Enterprise, where it does have the nacelles, but underneath, and it's got the face. It's so great, and his dialogue is truly spectacular in these introductory scenes, because it's kind of instantly clear, oh, Zapp is a moron. Like within the first 3 words that he speaks, you know that he's an idiot.
Also with like Kif's disdain, you said like from the very beginning, Kif was like very straight. I hate this man. I want him gone. But I think they toned down Kif as the series went on. They made him very like tough and hated Zapp, and kind of like not dominant, but like he would stand his ground more when Zapp would say something. And then as the series progresses, he becomes very like submissive and scared and afraid and timid. Even like in the next episode, where not the next episode, and like a later episode with like the Titanic, the space Titanic,
Zapp beats him down pretty good.
Yeah, he's like already like timid and shy and super afraid to like talk to Amy and all that. Or who knows, maybe it's just because like he likes Amy and he has these feelings now that make him so timid.
Yeah, being nervous around a person you like, that's a big thing.
Gays nervous around people they like?
That's why I don't like anybody.
Yeah. Oh, Arthur. So Leela initially rebuffs Zapp, and then he begins to cry, and she falls for it. And then the next scene with them, because it like cuts away to Bender and Fry in prison. But the next scene, she wakes up and she starts screaming because she realized what happened. Zapp tricked her into sleeping with him. But while all this is happening, Fry and Bender are in prison and they have this idea to escape through the steam pipe. And so Fry asks Bender to open it and he opens it and then steam comes out. And Fry's like, oh no, this is no good. It's filled with steam. And it's like, you just said it was a steam pipe 5 seconds ago, sweetie.
It's a laundry brig.
Oh, that's what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nice though that he turns it into like they turn it into like a sauna afterwards. You see them lounging with towels that came out of nowhere. But also this like guard too is standing outside the door in his scant, which it looks really good on him. And then now I'm like, all these crewmen look really good.
Is it the uniform or is it the men?
Yes.
Yeah.
The sexually satisfied Brannigan allows the Planet Express crew to depart for Vergon 6, and the crew proceed.
Phrase.
Sexually satisfied Brannigan?
Sexually satisfied Brannigan. That's a horrifying phrase.
Ew. The sexually satisfied Brannigan.
Keep saying it. Oh my god.
I'm gonna text both of you this phrase later. Just out of nowhere at 1 a.m.
It's gonna be the tagline for the show. Sexually satisfied Brannigan on the Bite My Shiny Metal Ass podcast.
Brannigan allows the Planet Express crew to depart for Vergon 6, and the crew proceed to collect the strange animals. While working on their checklist, they discover a black and white creature with a third eye on a stalk. Leela decides to rescue it as well, even though it's not on the list, names it Nibbler, and places it in the cargo hold with the other animals. When Bender, Leela, and Fry return with the last animal on their list, they discover that the mystery creature has devoured all of the other animals after watching it eat the animal they just brought back. I had to look up the list of animals. There are 30.
A pair of hermaphlamingos.
Hermaphlamingos, yes. There are 30 animals on this list. I looked them up. They're all online. I will not read them, but I did write down some of my favorite ones. There's a vampire slug, a purple fruit snake, which is the snake that eats Bender. And after fighting it, he just like gives up and walks off inside of the snake, dragging the snake with him. The Nibblonians are on there. In this case, it's just Nibbler and the Hermaphlamingo, which I think is so cute. And it's just so funny because like you could tell one's a girl flamingo because it has eyelashes, which is like so basic.
I'm surprised they didn't put a bow on it somehow. Like when the flamingos found a bow and just put it on its head.
Yeah, no, they do what everybody else does and just adds eyelashes to feminize it. You know how it is.
I like the wind shrimp.
Oh yeah, blowing Fry.
Yeah, it's this very tiny little shrimp, and it's able to project 60-mile-an-hour sustained Gulf force winds against Fry.
Oh,
and the horse that has one eye that's like a unicorn but also looks like Leela, and then Fry comes over and throws the net but onto Leela.
Yeah, I think it's a shapeshifter. I think the creature
I looked it up. I was looking at the list. I think it's a 4-legged mimic.
Yes.
Oh.
It's called a 4-legged mimic. I looked it up because I was looking for that one and I was looking for like a one-eyed something, but then I saw a 4-legged mimic and I was like, oh, this must be it. And apparently it's good enough that even with 4 legs, it could throw off Fry, but Fry's also not the brightest.
Yeah.
So
missing his Delta brainwave. It happens.
Yes, that one. That's what you get when you time travel and sleep with your own grandmother. And then
spoilers.
Yeah. Huge spoilers for a series that's 21 years old. 23. 23. I just tweeted about it the other day. I should know this. It was actually a scheduled tweet because I knew I was going to be busy with work on Monday. So I was like, let me just schedule this 2 weeks in advance. Thanks. They bring back the creature. Fry is afraid that it's going to eat them all. And he runs out of the ship and he lands on the planet, and it being hollowed out because it was mined, the crust breaks and he like falls through it, but grabs onto the edge.
Is he afraid of Nibbler, or is it that like the ship shifts and he does the like every man for themselves thing?
Oh, I think that one.
But yeah, he definitely he trips out and he lands face first on the ground, and Bender just grabs him as he falls.
It was just funny because then I'm like, how did he fall? I don't know. I have many questions. I know the show is like an animated show.
Remember, Fry's face can take a lot of punishment.
It's very true. It's just funny because also Nibbler, this is one of the very few times we see Nibbler eating an animal. A lot of times when the Niblonians are eating something, it like cuts away from them. But in this scene, like we actually see Nibbler eats the giant growling hippo thing, which I think is a fun introduction to Nibbler. It's a very like plot twisty introduction to Nibbler because here he's like some timid creature, and then next season we find out that he's actually a highly sophisticated race of beings. Next season.
And also how much this episode like impacted future episodes. Like I was just rewatching the season, like the series recently, like earlier this year, especially like the newer episodes that I had not seen before. And it was just when the professor discovered how to make black matter into starship fuel, and that the planet was also composed of their poop. And it's just like, oh, that's where all these things came from. And they just picked it all from this like episode and then just transplant into the future episode. And it's like a nice callback that they based their entire episode out of.
This series is very good at continuity.
Yeah.
Because it's like many seasons down the road that we learn that it was a planet composed of their poop. And it's like, okay, they're really good at like making, like we were discussing the last episode, Arthur. They're very good about saying something and then calling back to it seasons later, because it's not just like a throwaway. It's like, we'll set this up for something down the road.
And the dark matter rules stick. You know, they're consistent in how heavy it is, and I think there are a couple of instances where Nibbler ends up going to the bathroom to save them, like he does in this episode. Yeah, there's so much here, both with Nibbler and then of course with Kif and later Amy and Zapp throughout the entire show. I maintain this first season of Futurama does a really nice job of setting things up that the writers, to their credit, were able to maintain through in a lot of ways, as the show would exist on Fox and then the movies and then the Comedy Central run. So it'll be interesting to see where they go now that it's coming back.
I'm also curious, and I am trying, I mean, obviously there's no like plot leaks or episode leaks on what things are going to be, but like when it's getting closer where it's like, hey, we're done doing all the episodes, like it'll be released on X date, I really want to like avoid any potential spoilery things because I really want to go into this blind.
Same.
But yeah, I would love if they like continue things from previous seasons, which I imagine they would. It's the same showrunners, so I would have a hard time believing that they like don't have callbacks or things like that. Yeah. Plus, also it's like X amount of years later since the series ended, there's going to be a brand new audience of people out there who haven't seen Futurama. So I know that they're going to do a really good job of like reintroducing everything and everybody and like easing people into it to like make them fall in love with it, like how the first season did when it first aired. So exciting.
Yeah, as long as they take an episode approach and not a movie approach, with that rather than chopped up into episodes.
Yeah, but I think Futurama's always done a really good job of it. Like when the when it re-aired or when it was renewed and picked up by Comedy Central, the opening episode for that new season was Rebirth, And it's funny because it's like their skeletons. It's just their heads that were saved by the sphere, and then their skeletal remains, and they're in the like rebirthing chamber. And as they're all coming out, Fry is introducing them, like just introducing the first few. And then everybody else comes out at once, and Fry's like, and the rest of the crew. And we're like, just that's it. So the planet begins to collapse and break apart. When the crew try to escape, they discover that the ship is out of fuel, and Leela refuses to beg Brannigan for assistance, and the crew settle in for their inevitable deaths. The ship shifts to one side, and the crew discovers that Nibbler has defecated a small pellet of dark matter, which is the fuel the ship runs on. Bender tosses the ultra-dense pellets into the engine, and the crew returns safely to Earth. So futuristic spaceship, and it uses furnace burners for their engines.
And gets above 100% efficiency too.
Yes.
I love that they just I love that they quite literally just dump it in and it's good to go.
Yeah, like no refinery.
And there's a sign above it that says like caution, smell, or don't inhale.
Yeah. Because they make a joke about about the scent when Bender first goes, and then later in the series when Fry's walking Bender and he goes, I think Earl and Smitty stop him and remark on the smell. So it makes sense. Sometimes shit smells.
That, and yes, the consistency of how heavy it always is. It's funny because like Bender's this robot who could do a lot of really strong things, and yet he's struggling to pick up the pellet of dark matter to put it into the furnace. But then it's funny because also there are some scenes where you see Fry trying to lift the pellet of dark matter to get it into the furnace, and he is struggling so hard.
Yeah, I think he says like it's the weight of 3,000 suns or something.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. It's funny because Leela refuses to go back to Zapp because, as Zapp predicted in a previous scene, that yeah, sure, she could try and run away from him, but then she's gonna end up having the craving, and she's gonna want some more of Zapp again. And it's funny because like that happens later on. You see her start to have that like craving, but she's very strong-willed and she refuses to go back to Zapp. But as we know, that like changes during the series. But
living is very important to. Do they sleep together? They don't sleep together again, do they? He dates her mom for a period of time, but I don't think they get together again.
I thought they did. No,
I can't think of an episode where they do.
Okay, I think he just keeps trying to seduce her.
He brings it up all the time.
Yes, that he definitely brings up all the time. Nibbler's poop. Anyways, so I guess what was your favorite part of the episode? What was what was your favorite joke or reference of the episode?
So my favorite joke is when they separate again, just had sex, and he comes over and he's just like, Zapp, I've made it with a woman, inform the men. Or I have made it with a woman, inform the men.
Yeah.
And that's just like, oh yeah, I do exactly the same thing with the group text. It's like, hey, guess what I just did?
So like, this brings up a question I always had about Zapp. Do you think Zapp's bisexual or pansexual and will occasionally randomly sleep with members of his crew? There are obviously no women on that. Well, there's one.
Well, you have the dialogue line. This time we're sure she's a woman, right? So he's clearly had accidents in the past where he slept with someone he didn't intend to. So it's certainly he's not seeking men actively. He may have ended up with some, but
yeah, which he doesn't take after the Captain Kirk that I know for that. He's still making it with alien women, but
yes. But
yeah, Zapp low-key tells us that Leela is not a human, that she is nope, never mind, because he says that she's a hot alien babe and she's in fact an earthling. I'm sorry, never mind.
So then do we think that he asks Kif to tell the men that he made it with a woman just to like keep asserting his dominance over them?
I think it happens so rarely for him that he just does it to show it, like be like, look at what I did.
To show
Yeah,
off.
She took his
I
virginity,
remember,
right?
yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he says, yeah. He later says that she's the only woman to ever love him physically. So yeah, she's his first.
I don't remember this. I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look,
It's also a very big like header. I remember in like high school, one of my pizza managers like came in being like super excited, like, guess what I did last night? He was like, he got laid, and it's like, oh, it's just like a thing that people tell you and
Yes,
do.
straight guys like to brag about it.
thanks for
And I'm like,
that.
I am 17 and you were like 30 something. Why are you telling me this?
We do it too.
I am 17.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
true.
call off. I'm 17. I'm gonna call HR now. Wait, did you say he does it too?
No, I mean, gay men, we have our own ways
Oh.
of bragging about having sex.
Yeah,
but
I tweet about it. Trey tweets his group chat.
Yeah. There used to be Facebook
I don't
groups
like
before they got
anybody,
rid of them
so.
all.
Facebook groups. Oh my god. What do you think this episode? Wait, no, Arthur, what was your favorite Joker reference?
Brannigan's dialogue overall. It's delivered so well by Billy West. So that's yeah, and Brannigan is one of those characters where he's simultaneously the thing I like least about the episode because he's so eye-rollingly misogynistic, but he's written deliberately that way in such a perfect manner that he's perfect satire in that regard.
Yeah.
Fair. Yes. I think my favorite joke of this episode. Oh, it's always so hard to pick one thing, like one favorite thing out of the episode. I think it's the scene where they are in the laundry brig and Fry says, let's escape through the steam pipe. And so when they open it, Fry's like, it's no good. It's full of steam.
It's just because you've written so many fan fiction that begin that way.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of good things in this episode, but do you think there's one thing this episode could have done without? I asked this every episode, and it's so hard to pick.
I think just mainly just because it also didn't age well. The like joke about like make sure she's a woman this time just felt like of its time.
I think,
but like structurally, like I don't think there's any scene that could be removed. Like this was a very, very tightly written episode.
There's a lot to cover in 22 minutes, which they do a really good job about it. Yeah, I agree about that part that didn't age well, that Zapp said, which is like, I feel like this is the first time in 4 episodes that we've encountered something that did not age well, which good, 4 episodes, but also not surprising that it came from Zapp.
Yeah, that's why it's like more okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Trey.
Oh, no, like as you were saying, like he's so horribly written, like he's so well written as a horrible character that it makes sense and is fitting in his character for him to like say this, but it's just like a little taken aback when I first heard it. It was just like, oh yeah.
Right. Yeah, that hits home for us in a way that it wouldn't for the majority of the audience. But yeah, it's that odd intersection of this makes me cringe, but it's written to make me cringe. So
yeah, they do a really good job at that. He's written to be a horrible person, and it works so well for him. On the flip side, do you think anything at this episode really aged really well?
There's one thing Zapp Brannigan said that was, I don't pretend to understand Brannigan's law, I merely enforce it. And that feels like that still feels very appropriate and has aged well, like military and police leadership not knowing what they're doing.
Yes. I agree. Overall, I thought it was a really good episode. I love the Noah's Ark reference. The two of every animal. And then Bender's
Why
like,
two?
yeah,
Oh.
that part. He's a robot that's supposed to contain like the vast knowledge of humanity, and yet he doesn't know what two animals would be able to do.
Yeah. He's only 4 years old. Yeah. He's a child.
He's a legal adult who could drink alcohol.
Well, he needs that to survive.
Okay. Well. Trey, thank you so much for joining us this episode. Are there any other comments you want to add about this episode besides how much you loved it?
I don't think so. I'm looking through the notes that I took and pretty much covered everything.
Perfect. Well, I know we have you for some future episodes lined up as well. Do you want to let the children know where they could find you? Not your address, that's for Grindr, but more for like social media.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at welcomebackotter with a U for welcome, no E. So it's good. Yeah. It'll be in the link and probably at the bottom. We'll see. That's probably the best place.
A gay man referencing cum. Big surprise.
Groundbreaking. Florals in spring.
Spring's almost here. There's a floral bedsheet on the guest bed.
Oh, that's the guest bed.
Yes. Anyways, Trey, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to have you back again for a future episode.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Arthur, thank you so much for co-hosting this podcast with me.
Yeah, thank you all very much for tuning in. As always, find me on Twitter at Tired Planeteer or commuting between UIC and the north side of Chicago.
So sorry for your long commute.
Yeah, so's my ass. Believe me.
Alrighty. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.